Let me start by thanking Reverend and thanking the church for this invitation. I'm so grateful. This is the third time that God has graced me to stand before you and speak one or two things about investment and about business. I don't take it for granted. I'm so grateful. My name, as you have been told, is Johnbosco. Johnbosco Kyule is my name, Johnbosco Kyule Kitele. I nashiriki huko Deliverance Church at the River under Reverend Adeshi. Nimesoma kidogo tu mpaka I have a degree in peace and conflict, but that's not what I do. I majorly do business. I've done business for quite a while. I do business in hospitality. Niko na hoteli moja iko pale Machakos, inaitwa Machakos Inn Hotel. We do conferencing, we do restaurant, we do conferencing. I'm also involved in real estate. Nafanya farming kidogo, na pia mambo ya mawe ya ujenzi kidogo, stone mining and farming on the side. Na biashara tu ile inakuja. I'm a businessman and I'm also an investor. And so it's an honor to stand before you today and to be invited to the business summit. Na tulisema biashara si afanye biashara peke yake, hata it is for everybody, because what we normally do, it's about wealth creation, right? And so for the next 40-50 minutes or so, by the time it is 12, as God enables us, I want us to speak about wealth creation, because that is the topic that has been happening in business. And before we start, I want us to start with a verse, reading a verse. And let's open our Bibles in the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 28. Genesis chapter 1 and verses 28. Genesis 1 and verses 28. Are you already there? Yeah, can we read it together? Yes? Let's start again. Then God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over everything that moves on the earth." That was a command from God right from the beginning. And when you go back before this verse, ukienda tu hapo nyuma kidogo, you will find a place where God says, "Let us create man in our own image." And after that, God says, so that this man might have dominion over the fish of the sea, over every creeping thing, over everything. It's about dominion. Now, to fulfill God's word in our lives, we cannot do that without wealth. Bila wealth, we are going to find ourselves in Egypt. You remember how the children of Israel went to Egypt? It was a matter of wealth. Hawakuwa na chakula, wakaenda huko. And you know what happened. Eh? So when we study about wealth, we are in God's plan. And it's a very important thing. It's a cornerstone. And so today I want us to speak about wealth. It is more of a teaching than a preaching. And I want us to look at three pillars, the three pillars of wealth creation. And the first pillar that we are going to look at is getting, or to get. And we are speaking about money here, how to get the money. And then the second pillar that we are going to look is how to keep the money. And then the third pillar, we are going to see how to multiply. So get, keep, multiply. That is all it is about wealth, about why we start business, why we wake up in the morning to go and work. It just rotates among those three pillars. And when we speak about get, we are speaking about income. When we speak about keeping, we are speaking about saving. And when we're speaking about multiplication, we are speaking about investing. So those are the three things that I want us, as God enables us, to look into them. And right away, we are going to start in the first pillar, which is getting, which is about income. So to understand income, first of all, we have to look at income, we have to understand the two things about income which are very important. The two types of income that we have You already know we have passive income and we have active income. So the active income is the income that you do actively, where you go and work, where you involve actively. That one we call it active income. The passive income means the income that you make. They say income that you get while you sleep. This is something that you do, and this is money working for you, actually. Active is you working for money, but passive is money working for you. So we have those two types. And then we have many types of income. We are not going to elaborate because you already know some of these things. We have a type of income which is called a profit. Of course, if you are starting a business, you get a profit. We have interest. We are not going to elaborate, but you can do research later. We have capital gains. It's another source of income, another type of income. We have dividends. We have royalties. We have commission. We have salary. We have coupons. And even also we have rental income. So all these are sources of income. And when we are going to speak about multiple sources of income, as much as possible, you try to have at least one or two of these. So you can have profit, interest, capital gain, dividends, royalties, commission, salary, coupons, rental income. All these are places that give you some source of income. Then, to get this income, you're going to do some kind of work. And so we have also types of work that you do. And generally, we have two types of work. The two types of work that we have the maintenance work and we have progressive work. Now, maintenance work is that type of work that looks like work. It is work that you do to maintain the status quo, like washing, like constructing, like sending emails, like attending to clients, like whatever business you do, the one that you do it actively. That is what we call maintenance work. That is the one that people say, when you say I'm going to work in the morning, that work that you're going to do, most probably is maintenance work. You open the office, you go, you start sending emails if it's an office work, or if you are a doctor, you go start attending to patients. If you are a lawyer, you go start attending to your clients. All that is called maintenance work. It looks more like work. Now, people don't talk about the second type of work. That is called progressive work. Progressive work is the kind of work that does not look like work. If you tell somebody is working, that is not work, but it is the most important. It is the cornerstone. This is where now you sit down, you start coming with vision, you start coming with strategy. Unaanza kuweka mipango na mikakati. You are not doing it physically. It is more of mental. When you are doing that, we call that progressive work. About strategy, about ideas. It is mostly mental. That is another very important form of progressive work. That's why you see, these people who are very wealthy, these people with companies that have names, that have international brands, unapatanga wako mahali, wameenda kwa a sports club, Karen golf club and things like that. Unapata wamekaa, wanacheza golf, ni Monday, What they are doing is progressive work. Wana network, they are thinking, ideas, that is progressive work. So as you start business, and tutaangalia business hapo chini in the categories of income, it is always important to give out, how is it called? To give out the maintenance work to other people. And you concentrate on what? You concentrate on the progressive work. It's the most important work that you can do if you have a business. And the other work, you give to people to do. So, the next thing we look at the categories of income. Now, we are going to use something from Robert Kiyosaki. He puts it in 4 categories. The first category, we have the category of employees. That is one category of income. Of course, if you are employed and you get salary, you belong to the category of employees. We have a second category, which is called self-employed. Then we have a third category, which is called business ownership, a business owner. Then we have the fourth category, which is an investor. So the first category, employed and self-employed, these are the basic categories. And we should all aspire to move to the third and fourth category, which is business ownership and being an investor. Now, being an employee, it has its own benefit. Of course, you receive salary at the end of the month, at the end of the day, at the end of the week. Those are wages. That is a category on its own. It has its own disadvantages and it has its own advantages. Self-employed, many people confuse self-employed with business. For example, if you, let's say you have a shop and you are selling, let's say, whatever it is that you are selling, and it's in a shop, and the business has to continue when you are there. Unamkanga tu asubuhi, alafu unafungua duka. Maybe unauza unga ama unauza nguo ama whatever you are doing, but ukifunga biashara imejifunga mpaka urudi tena. That is, it is business, okay? How we understand it, but that is self-employed. You have created employment on your own. The third category, which is business ownership. This is now the same business that you can be doing, but you put structures into it such that you don't have to be there. The business is growing. And yesterday, as we were talking in the business summit, I gave an example of, let's say, unakatanga mboga, unauza nyanya. Let's say unauza pale Kitengela, you are one. When you are at that level, tunasema uko self-employed. Of course, we say you are in business, but actually you are self-employed. So what you should do, what you should endeavor is, hii mboga unauza pale, maybe unaita mtu kutoka nyumbani, ama unaandika mtu nakuja unamwambia, sasa hii mboga, hii nimeweka hapa, wewe kuwa unauza, and then nakuja jioni naangalia. Maybe unaenda unafungua ya pili, unafungua ya tatu, unafungua ya 4, unaandika watu. Wewe sasa unakuwa unaandanga tu ukifanya nini? Supervision. Then maybe after that, umeshafungua kama 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, unakuja hata unaandika supervisor, unamwambia sasa wewe kwangu unaenda around unaangalia kama kazi inaendelea vizuri. Then unatafuta supplier. Mali utakuwa unachukua vitu, unapeleka vitu. Now when you start doing that, you are coming up with structures. Unashika ile biashara, unaregister, unaiweka let's say in a limited liability company. Maybe unaita Mama Mboga Fresh Food or something like that, company limited. Sasa umeanza kuingia mambo ya tax, unaanza kuleta accountant. These are structures you are creating now. Then unakuja unatafuta magari za kwendanga huko Gikomba, badala ya kwenda Gikomba unaenda kwa shamba unanunua vitu unaleta. Now you are cutting the middleman. You see? Lakini ulianzia wapi? Ukiuza mboga tu kwa stool ama kwa meza tu. But you see now you are expanding it. By the time expand, ukwe sasa unaanza kusupply mashule, wanataka mboga, wanataka mahindi, sasa imekuwa a company. Now you are not doing self-employed. Now you are in business. Ile ya kwanza tulikuwa tunaita biashara, lakini hiyo ni self-employed. Sasa umetoka self-employed, sasa unafanya biashara. So when we say business, we mean something which is formal, na iko na structures, inajulikana, you can brand it, ukiitaja tu hivi inajulikana. And most businesses zinaanzanga tu hapo. Zingine hazigrow, lakini zingine za grow. I was speaking about something like Equity. Equity Bank ilianza hapa Kiambu. Ilikuwa tu ni mtu alikuwa na kaduka, the founder, you can read the story. Alikuwa na kaduka, sasa hapo kwa soko, kalikuwa tu kwa soko. So wamama walikuwa wanakuja wanampatia pesa, kwa sababu najua wakifanya kazi, wakienda nyumbani, pesa itachukuliwa labda na wazee ama iingie kazi zingine hawajui. So anawaekea, alafu anachukua ka interest kidogo. So hivyo ndio Equity ilianza. So akakuwa so much trustworthy because akona integrity, akona nini. Wamama wakaanza kuwa wengi, ikaanza kuwa sasa ni kama ni sako, one thing led to the other. Today Equity, si ile ka self-employed kalianza pale Kiambu mahali. It's a global brand. Ukienda kila mahali ni Equity. Now it's a business. So whatever business you do, you have to think, you know how to scale it. Inaitangwa scalability. Ni kidogo lakini you think internationally. So yesterday we were speaking most things about international things and things like that. The world is becoming a village. Dunia ni kama village saa hii. You can do, unaweza uza vitu, si lazima uende China, unaweza ziitisha tu hapa. You know, you start thinking globally. Lakini ulianza kidogo. The Bible says, do not despise the days of small beginning. Na Mungu anzangi kitu kubwa, anazanga kidogo. That's why you find a seed is very small, but inakuja inakuwa kubwa na branches, na one tree becomes a forest. That's how God created people. Whatever you are doing, kama uko employed, we were speaking about exit plan. The moment you get employed, umeingia tu kwa hivi, the first day umekuwa employed, anza kufikiria utatoka aje hapa, because one day utatoka tu, maybe retirement, it doesn't matter, maybe uta resign or something like that. And when you are thinking about exit plan and you are thinking about business, think it as a big thing. Usifikirie tu ni kidogo, you think it as global. I love Jesus. I can't imagine the time that Jesus was speaking with the 12 disciples. Can you imagine being in that conversation? Na Yesu alikuwa anawaambia, you see this gospel that we are speaking about, it will be preached in the whole world. Watu walikuwa wamekaa tu kwa mawe wanaongea watu 12, hata hakukuwa na Christian, walikuwa tu 12 people. But Yesu anawaambia, mnaona hiki tunawaambia, hii kitu itapreachwa to the ends of the earth. That kind of thinking is what God has called us to have. So whatever business you are doing, unauza whatever it is a good business, but think globally. When you think globally, you think about structures, you think about being a business owner. Unatoka hapa kwa self-employed, unaenda wapi? Kwa business owner. The fourth category, you become an investor. Now, being an investor, you even when you are employed, you are supposed to be an investor. When you are doing business, you are supposed to be an investor. Investment simply means money working for you. You see, there are so many types of investment. Now let's not go to investment. Tutaangalia as the third pillar, because it is as wide as it comes. But now also, you should strive to be an investor. Hata kama uko employed, you are supposed to be an investor. Hata kama unafanya biashara, you are supposed to be an investor. Investment should be a way of life. Just putting money aside for money to work for you. And before maybe we go to the second pillar, just speaking about investment, though to understand investment, because it is a very serious, it's the cornerstone to wealth creation. You can only get wealth through investing. You have to understand two things about investment. Number one, you have to understand what an asset is. And number two, you have to understand what a liability is. An asset is something that brings money to your pocket. A liability is something that takes money away from you. When you understand those two things, you understand investment. Now, investment is simply buying of assets. Kununua tu assets. When you are buying assets, we say you are investing. Ukienda kununua shamba, so long as inakuingizia pesa, we say you are investing. Now, when you speak about investment, you can do it in two ways. You can have physical investments. Physical investments ni vitu kama unanunua shamba kitu unaona, ama speaker kama hii kama unatumia kama PL alafu unaanza kuikombolesha. So long as inakuletea pesa, that's an investment. It can be tools, it can be equipment. Physical investment, it can be rental property, it can be a business that you have started. All those are physical investments. But we also have financial investments. Financial investments, these are now things to do with mutual funds, things to do with government securities, such like things. And that is also another wide thing that we shall try to see if God allows. But let's go to the second pillar. The second pillar, we said what was the second pillar? Yes, the second pillar is keep. So, umeshapata income. Na umepata hizo income zote, and now you are getting money. So what do you do with this money? And first of all, this money that you have saved, not even how do you do with this money? How do you keep this money? How do you maintain this money? And why should you even save? Because when we say keep, that means just saving. So why should you save money? Sasa umefanya kazi, umepata 10,000 at the end of the month, or 100,000 or 1 million, whatever you get, that is income. Why should you save a portion of it? Everything that you ever do, for you to be good in it, you have to know the reason. Kama hujui reason, you will not get it. It's not human nature to save money. You have to have a very good reason. And even ukijaribu kuangalia, maybe our days wakati ulikuwa tunasoma, those children walitoka kwa wanaitangwa humble background, and I don't know why it is called humble background. There's nothing good about poverty kiitwa humble. Now those who came from humble background, the children, walikuwa wanapita sana kwa mtihani. Why? Because they had a reason. Waliambiwa unaona shida tunalalanga nayo njaa kila asubuhi, ukisoma upite ukwe daktari itaisha. So anaenda kama amejitolea, he has a reason to do that. Hata wale wanakuanga na, let's say, under drug influence, maybe alcohol ama madawa ya kulevya nini, wakienda kwa those rehabilitation center, first of all they are given the reason. They have to find the reason why should they quit. If they don't find a reason, ni kazi ya bure, hawata quit. Also for you to save money, you have to find a good reason. Why are you doing it? So why do we save money? We'll see one or two reasons. The first reason why you should put money aside is for emergencies. Emergency. And yesterday when we were talking about in the business forum, we said that before you start investing, you have to have an emergency fund. Na tukiongea emergency fund, jana tulianza na kuangalia, we did the 7 stages of wealth creation. Na tukaona ya kwanza inaitangwa dependent stage, where you depend on others. Tukaona ya pili inaitwa survival stage. Survival stage is whereby uko na pesa, unaweza lipa stima, unaweza lipa maji, unaweza lipa watoto school fees, you can run your life. Na tukasema around 95%, if not more than that, of Kenyans wanakwamanga hapo kwa survival stage. Unapata mtu tangu aandikwe kazi ama anze biashara, hiyo biashara inalipanga tu bills. Unalipa bills mpaka siku moja unaenda retirement, then unaenda back to the dependent stage, unarudi hapo nyuma. But uliona the third stage in wealth creation inaitwa stability ama financial stability. Na tukaona this stage on its own is whereby you have an emergency fund. Umeka kitu inaitwa emergency fund. That by itself is a stage on its own. Na tukasema before you start investing, before you start doing business, before you start doing anything, the very first time utapata kazi ama tenda ama biashara, the first thing that you do is to create an emergency fund. That is the cornerstone. And emergency fund is simply putting like 3 months ama 6 months ama 12 months of your income. Unashika expenses zako. For example, hata ukiziangalia with your salary, unaangalia kama kwa rent ama mortgage, whatever your expenses are, maybe ni 50,000 a month ama 100,000 ama 10,000, you know your lifestyle, the way you live it. Kama unapatanga maybe 100,000 a month ndio expenditure yako, at least unaweka kama 300,000 mahali ama 600,000 mahali ama 1.2 mahali. Inaweza kuwa mwaka, miaka 2, it depends with you and dependents and things like that. So hii ukiweka, the most important thing of hii emergency fund unaweka because life happens to all of us. You know, life is not a straight line. Things happen. You can lose your job. Unaweza pata labda one of your relatives or a family member ameshikwa na ugonjwa, God forbid, maybe cancer, and you know how expensive those things are. Or something happens. Life happens to all of us. So when that thing happens, it finds you have an emergency fund. It finds you have money somewhere. If you don't have that emergency fund, na umeingia biashara ama unafanya projects, you know, maybe unatengeneza nyumba, just the normal project, na una emergency fund. What happens? You go 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Utakuja upate umenunua shamba. Umenunua shamba, maybe a plot, alafu unafanya investing, umeanza kujengeneza rentals zimekuja hata labda ziko karibu kuisha ama zimeisha, and then all of a sudden, God forbid, one of your loved ones amepatikana na cancer, God forbid, or something bad. Alafu unakuja unapata sasa ile kitu inatakikana hapa ni kitu inaitwa pesa. And hauna emergency fund, hauna pesa, hauna anything, lakini uko na nini? Investment umefanya for the last 4 or 5 years. What happens? Investment umefanya imeenda kufika karibu 10 million, unakuja unaambia mtu saa hiyo, hii pesa si uninunulie. Mtu atakuja kuambia, you know what, mimi sina pesa, ungeniambia last year ama jana, lakini saa hii mimi naweza kuonea 200,000. na labda mpendwa wako anataka 100,000. Kitu ilikuwa ya 10 million unakuja unauza 200,000. And you are forced by circumstances. Because unakuja unaangalia sasa niko na mjengo nimeweka hapa na niko na mgonjwa wangu anataka help. You sell it. So unakuja unapata you sell it, mpendwa wako anaenda anapona, lakini unarudi wapi? Zero. You understand? So before you do investment or anything, you must have an emergency fund. Na nikapeana example, an emergency fund, for example, mtu anaanguka from the 20th story of a building, unaanguka ukienda chini. Na before ufike chini, neti inakuja hapa hivi second floor. So instead of hitting down, unakuja una hit neti yenyewe. Emergency fund ndio ile inakuokolea so that you don't go back to zero. So before starting anything, the first thing that you do, have an emergency fund. You have an emergency fund, you put it in an account. Don't put it in a bank, under a mattress or somewhere like that. There are places to put, maybe we shall see as we go on. Maybe money market or fixed income funds, somewhere where you can access it when need be. Lakini bado iko above inflation so that isipotee. After that, that's when you start saving. So that is one of the reasons why you save. The second reason why you should save is because of something which is called wealth transfer. There's a concept which is called wealth transfer. Na maana kwa Bible, the Bible says that God has preserved the properties of the wicked and he'll give them to the righteous. That is where we quote the wealth transfer. And this wealth transfer occurs every day in life. This simply means when you put money aside, you put money aside so that when an opportunity to buy something or to invest in something, when it arises, you have the cash. That is one of the reasons, major reasons, why you should even think of saving. You know, during Corona, that is when, actually, wealth transfer occurs during crisis. There is one person who is called Warren Buffett. We normally quote him a lot because when it comes to investing, he's like the father of that investing. He says the best time to invest is when there is blood on the street. It means when there are crises, that is the time that you invest. That is the time that you get the best deal. Hata kwa markets, for example, if it is the NSC or buying of shares, say tuko bull market, vitu ziko expensive. It's not going to be like that always. Itafika mahali vitu tu zifanyike, bei zishuke. That's the time you buy. When people are running, that's the time you are getting in. You buy it at the smallest price. But also in this wealth transfer, tumepeana hiyo example ya maybe mpendo wako ameshikwa na ugonjwa, alafu umeenda umeuza maybe investment ilikuwa kitambo. So again, people consider that as wealth transfer. Unakuja unapata somebody has an issue, amekuja amekuletea shamba, pesa kidogo ama property ama investment. You get it at a small price because of whatever reason that this person had. We call that again wealth transfer. It occurs. Even if you don't buy it, somebody else will buy it. And that is how, during times of crisis, that's when wealth is made. So about wealth it is about timing. Even when you're investing, you don't invest every time. You just put money. And then that time will always come. A time will come when you do the what? You do the investment. It's about timing. It occurred during Corona. During Corona, maduka zilifungwa, nini zikafungwa, wakuja ukapata, watu hawana pesa. Now, those people with money, they made a lot of money during that time because vitu ni rahisi, during times of crisis. So you put money aside in your mind knowing that this is timing for the right time, and the right time always comes. And mostly, unfortunately so, it's during crisis. That's the time that you invest. Kama tulikuwa tunaongea mambo ya sasa kama Kenya ikatokea vita. You see now, if you are in Tanzania, say wako na vita. If you had money, sasa enda invest Tanzania. Unaona sasa wako na vita, wanakimbia, watu wana the political unrest. Saa hii huko vitu haziendi vizuri. Hakuna pesa. Sasa kama unatafuta shamba saa hii, Tanzania, next to the beach, ama Zanzibar, enda saa hii. Ile ilikuwa inatoka 20 million, utaipata na 5 million. Because people want to opt out. Sasa wanataka ku opt out. That's when you do what? You opt in at a good price. So that's why you save. The other reason for saving is because of retirement. You save because of retirement. Of course, we know retirement, it can come because of age. Maybe umefika ile miaka 65 or towards there. That one is, you have to invest because of that. It can come because of maybe disability. You can be forced into it. Maybe kazi inaweza isha or something like that. Hata biashara, kama uko kwa biashara inaweza haribika. Now, before you strengthen the business, you need to have some money saved. That is another reason why we save. And mostly when we speak about retirement, you know how we look at it? We look at it as if it is age. Retirement should not be about age. You look at it, naenda kufika 60, 65, naenda retire. That's not how to look at it. Retirement is a number. Is a financial number. That to make a financial number, unajua sasa ile nita hit this amount of money, hii kazi nitawacha ama biashara nitauza ama nitafanya nini, it is a number. So you should also know your number. So unaweza kuwa unafanya you are 70 bado hujaretire, ama you are 30 umeretire. Should be more of a number than of an age. That is what retirement should be, ideally. Of course, the other reason why we save, and the major reason why people save, is about investment. You save so as to invest. But now the question is, many people get money, lakini unasikia wanasema hii pesa ya kuinvest ama ya kusave inatoka wapi na hii economy? Because money is not enough. They say there is a lot of month at the end of the month. So mwezi imeisha na sasa ndio ni kama ndio imeanza, because ile mshahara umepata ama profit ya biashara umepata inaishanga kabla ifike kwa bank. You know, so unakuja unapata watu hawana hii pesa ya kusave, ya kuinvest. Sasa unaweza shindwa sasa. John natuambia to save, to invest, hiyo pesa itatoka wapi? Now, saving and investing is not a matter of how much you earn, but it's a matter of mindset. And that's what I want us to look at just shortly, as God allows us. So I want us to look at maybe 2 or 3 principles that can help you, that can assist you to save money. Because we said it is a lifestyle that enables you to save. You see, the other time I was speaking with the leadership of men yesterday, pale hivyo. Na one of the leader kaniambia, he admires walimu sana, especially wa huko nyumbani. Because walimu huko nyumbani unapatanga mshahara ni kidogo, lakini unakuja unapata, I was speaking with Paul and other leaders, unapata yani wamefanya mambo mingi na mshahara ni kidogo. And then I remembered, kuna the other lawyer, I think you remember, 2 or 3 months ago, there was a lawyer, alishutiwa kwa gari. Na akishutiwa kwa gari, alikuwa amebeba, I don't know, pesa za client around 40 million. Alikuwa tu kwa gari kubwa mzuri, na anaishi, I think, in Runda or somewhere like that. Yeah, alikuwa anaishi huko. Now, the reason why I'm giving that example is because this person looked all successful. Akona gari kubwa, anaishi Runda, nyumba kubwa, na anapata mshahara kubwa. Lakini when they started digging his financial transaction, ukakuja ukapata akona loan, sijui ilikuwa ni 96 million ya Shylocks. Walimpatia sijui ni 10 million, akalipa 24 million, na sasa anadaiwa 96 million, akona hiyo deni. Haya, ako sijui na deni nyingine ya client ya ngapi, in terms of millions. So ukimwangalia ana pesa, na hiyo lifestyle anaishi, ukimwangalia kwa macho, you might think amefika. Lakini ukiangalia kama mwalimu, anapata tu mshahara kidogo, unapata amelima mahali, amenunua tractor, amenunua mbuzi, amenunua nini. Wealth is about, it is relative. So it's not about ati ndaanza kusave nikipata pesa mingi. If you cannot do it with little, hata hii mingi itakuwa ni shida. So it's about what? It's about a mindset. So how do we live with these principles so that unakuja unapata the money that you are getting at least inabaki ya kusave? So the first principle that I want us to consider is putting God first. That's a principle. You have to put God first. You know, wealth is spiritual before it becomes physical. That one we all know. Before anything manifests in the physical, it must of all manifest in the spiritual aspect. And when you try to think about the story of who? The story of Daniel. when he was praying. And then after 21 days, the prayers were not answered. And then God comes and tells him, an angel comes and tells him, the king of Persia. Persia was a kingdom. The prince of Persia had blocked the angel, but angel Michael came down and he fought the king of Persia, na akamshinda. And now there's coming another king, which is the king of Greece. So, hii Persian kingdom ilitolewa in the spiritual world, before even it manifested physically. That time, Daniel akakuja akaambia mambo ya Persia, Michael amemaliza. It was in the spiritual, na panakuja wengine anaitwa the king of Grecia. So huyu Grecia palikuja na Alexander the Great. He came 200 years later. Do you know, kama palikuwa na mtu alikuwa in the spirit at that time, angeenda overthrow the king of Persia just the following day. But it took 200 years. Ndio Alexander the Great akarise, and he conquered the world, and he conquered the king of Persia, but it had happened in the spiritual world before it manifested physically. Wealth is the same way. Before you get that big business, before you get that big job, before you get that whatever it is, it always starts in the spiritual. You look for it in the spiritual. God releases it, then it manifests. So when you know that, then you are set. So you put God first. Anything that you want to start, kama ni biashara, you involve a man of God. Anakuja, anaombea. Kama, you know, these ones you know, So you put God first. The second principle, so that you can live with, so that you can have money to save, is pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Paying yourself first means that unajua unapatanga pesa at the end of the month, or at the end of the day, or profit, or interest, or dividends, or coupons. Hizo zote tumeziangalia, you get. And when you get, unakaa chini unaona, mtoto anataka school fees, unalipa school fees. Unakaa unaona, KPLC watazima, unalipa stima. Maji itazima, unalipa. Chakula, unalipeleka chakula. Unaangalia unaona, ni kitambo ninunue nguo, unaenda unanunua nguo. That is not paying yourself. You're just paying wala wanakuzia nguo, you are paying wala wanakuzia chakula, you are paying power. Hiyo ni pesa inaenda. So unalipa hii yote na wewe hujajilipa. So paying yourself, si ati unajua kunaona semanga, mimi sasa tafuta kwa jua na nikulie kwa jua, ndakulia kwa kivuli. Ati unaenda kwa holiday ama kukula kwa hoteli, hapana, hata si kujilipa, hiyo ni hoteli unalipa. Ukitisha chakula ukule, wewe unalipa mtu wa hoteli. What you're supposed to do is put money aside. Unajiwekea mwenyewe that money to work for you. That is what we call pay yourself first. You can put 10% or 20%, or even the higher the percentage, the better. Kama unapatanga 10,000, si unajua kama umeandikwa na serikali wangojangi ati walipe, wanakatanga yao. So that is tax. Wanakupanga pesa umekatwa. Then ukipata hii pesa wewe mwenyewe ukati yako. Kabla ufanye hizo vitu zingine, kata yako kwanza. Kama ni 10%, so unapata 10,000, weka 1,000. Afadhali uende shule uambie mwalimu, mimi sina pesa, lakini si ati unaenda unawapatia hii uko na hiyo, kata weka. That is the first principle towards wealth creation. Ukipata any money, kwanza kata yako weka kando. Put it in a place where it is growing and forget about it. Shida yetu sisi wengi, hata wacha wewe ya kupea ourselves first. Wengi of Kenyans, majority of Kenyans, wanafanyanga hesabu mpaka ya mshwari. Unasikia mtu amekwambia mimi niko na 10,000 na kwa M-Pesa ukiangalia yeye ako na 1,000, lakini anaweza kopa 9,000. So amepiga mpaka ile ya kukopa. So you are supposed to cut money, put it aside and forget about it. Let it grow. Sasa hiyo ina save. So kama unapatanga 20, kata 2,000 ama 5,000. Na usifanye kwa hesabu wewe una hata mbaya ifanyike, kitu mbaya ifanyike aje wewe una pesa. Every month, let it be there. Hey, let me tell you, people adapt. Kama nini yako inakuanga ni 50,000, alafu nasemanga hiyo ndio 50,000, enda kata 10. Let me tell you, 40,000 utaadapt. Vitu mingi zitakata tu automatically. So pay yourself first. You know, Warren Buffett, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. That is what he says. It's a very strong statement, but it is true. And one way to make money work for you, it starts by you doing what? Saving. Unakata pesa, unaweka kando, unaanza kufanya hesabu na ile pesa imebaki. That is the second principle. The third principle that will help you to amass enough money so that now you can start going to the other step that we shall go, called investing, is living below your means. You live below your means. That means that the lifestyle that you are living and whatever it is that you are, that you do, that you buy, if you are getting 100,000 or 50,000, make sure your lifestyle inakuanga nusu yake ama 3/4 yake. Put a lifestyle of 30,000 if you are getting 50,000. Live below your means. Not within your means. You know, they say live within your means. Don't live within your means. Live below. Upatele pesa unapatanga, una live below. Unakuja unapata ile simu uko nayo, as a phone like this one, before you buy a phone, you should be able to afford at least 4 of them, ama 3 of them. Don't buy something when you cannot afford 3 of them anywhere. Hata kama ni viatu unapita mahali, if in your pocket you can't afford 3 of them, you cannot afford even that one. You only buy when you can afford more. So the car that you drive, the phone that you use, the house that you live, unafaa kuwa umeishi way below. Unakuja unapata ile viatu unavanga viatu, lakini wewe unaweza afford hata mara 5 ya hiyo. That is what living below means. If you can't buy it twice or thrice, don't even buy it the first time. You can't afford it. So that is the principle of living below your means. The other one is delay gratification. You delay gratification. Delay gratification means you want something to do something now. And you want to eat that chicken today, and you can even afford it, but you can't afford it twice or thrice. Kula mboga tu, hiyo kuku utaikula next week. That is what delaying gratification means. That is something to master. That what you can do it now, you don't do it now. You wait until you can afford it. You do it later. Then when we are at delay gratification, you avoid conspicuous consumption. That's why when you go to the supermarket, before you just don't go, have a list of what you are going to buy, because ukienda tu hivyo na pesa unaendanga unajaza trolley na vitu zingine hata uhitaji. You know, unaenda hapo and never go to the supermarket when you are hungry. The worst thing you can do is going to the supermarket when you are hungry. Utaenda ujaze hiyo trolley, unaenda hapo unaona vitu zingine, unaona vitu zingine zinakaa hivi. So you end up conspicuous consumption. Supermarket is just an example. It applies everywhere. Before you buy something, have that conscious of what it is that you are doing, that you are buying. That hapo ndio pesa mingi napoteleanga. Then you practice conscious spending. It is just the same thing. When you're going to buy, you should know what you are going to buy. Na vitu zingine kama huko umepangia usinunue. That way you do what? You invest. You find some more money to invest. Because of time, I think tutafika hapo. But I pray to God that God enables us. That God enables us to be wealth creators, Whatever business that you are doing and whatever thing that you are doing, you do it with an understanding that you are in God's plan, and it is God's plan for your life, for our life, to live an abundant life. You see, even when Jesus came, Jesus was speaking more about abundance. God is a God of abundance. Akikuja anasema, I've come to give life abundantly. To live a life abundantly, you need wealth. And to create wealth, you need to understand some of these principles. You need to understand some of these things, how we do it. So it's my prayer that even as we did the business summit yesterday and throughout this week, that you learn something. Investing, it is not a destination. Wealth creation is not a destination. It is a journey. Hautaja ifika mahali useme now I am wealthy. No. Hata wale wako na the most richest people bado wanatafuta tu kina Bill Gates and the rest. It's because why? It's a journey, and it is relative one to another. So we all aspire to become the wealthiest that we can be, so that we can fulfill the plan of God in our life. That is the most important thing. You want to fulfill God's plan in your life. You want to live an abundant life. You want to be the best version of you that can be. You want to live. You don't want to exist. And to do that, you have to have that mindset of wealth creation, what it takes, how to go about it, and maybe another day, how to invest when you get the money that you get, how to invest, how to go about it, and how to look at it. But because of time, we shall reach there. And thank you so much for your time. May God bless you. Thank you.